Well, I think it's possible that we get to, a new all-time high, like 100,000 or more, even before the halving.
BTC could pump to $50,000 by the end of the year and reach as high as $120,000 by the end of 2024.
The consequences of the 2022 crypto market crash are still taking a heavy toll on investors, and no one wants to hang their hopes on the stakes anymore. There's so many heartbreaks out there. However, this tide might be set to change. How about we kick out the fears and examine the possibility of Bitcoin reaching $100,000? Bitcoin's dramatic price crashes have spurred what seemed to be a broader worry in the financial markets. The wild drops in the price started in November of 2022. This incident can be traced back to when the large exchange FTX collapsed, sending shockwaves to the crypto markets and leading to widespread fears. Well, this time there is no apparent connection to events in the cryptocurrency market. Instead, investors seem concerned about the economy more generally, as more traditional assets have been hit by the falls in recent days. Wall Street's main indexes have fallen, extending the plethora of declines. However, evidence of a resilient US economy has fanned to the flames of fears and interest rates staying higher for longer. But is resilience enough to help the Bitcoin price soar? The three main US stock indexes are still on track for sharp losses, as a spat of strong economic data has provoked investors to dial back expectations of rate cuts and drove up government bond yields. Amid these reports, there could be a silver lining somewhere. The price dips might not be able to stop the predictions that have rolled out for Bitcoin, especially in 2022. Even though the dollar valuation of Bitcoin hit some hiccups at the beginning of 2022, an analysis from Goldman Sachs claimed that by taking over God's role as a store of value, Bitcoin can reach a valuation of $100,000 soon. In a report released on January 4, 2022, data analysis from the bank looked at the data on Bitcoin from a key angle, which is its use as a store of value, especially in comparison to gold. According to the report, Bitcoin may have applications beyond simply a store of value, and digital asset markets are much bigger than Bitcoin, but we think that comparison its market capitalization to gold could help put parameters on plausible outcomes for Bitcoin's returns. At the time, the analysts know that Bitcoin has gained a bigger and bigger share of the store of value market, sitting at 20%, up from a negligible presence even in 2020. And it was noted that if growth continues at a steady rate, Bitcoin's valuation will easily hit the $100,000 mark in 5 years or less. In addition, JP Morgan analysts published data showing how Bitcoin is taking over more of gold's market share, with the price stagnating somewhat during the pandemic while Bitcoin skyrocketed. All that will need to happen, according to Goldman Sachs, is for the trend to continue at a reasonable rate, and Bitcoin's $100,000 valuation will follow. Simply put, even as the world of Bitcoin encounters hardships such as difficulties in mining operations or regulatory hostility worldwide, these trends show how Bitcoin has reached a level of popularity that can give it real staying power. We think that comparing its market capitalization to gold can help put parameters on plausible outcomes for Bitcoin's returns. Goldman Sachs co-head of Global Foreign Exchange, Rates and Emerging Market Strategy, Zach Pandal, said, "Currently, as Bitcoin has had its mettle tested during the recent economic chaos, it seems more obvious than ever that the long-term trend will only point upward, despite any temporary price setbacks. So far, interest from investors is growing after a tumultuous 2022 that saw digital asset prices tank as major businesses with solid reputations in the industry seemingly blew up. It might be a good idea to set your eyes on a new price target, even after the huge gain this year, and we can't help but admit the fact that Bitcoin might reach $100,000. In November of 2021, Bitcoin hit an all-time high of nearly $69,000, and while it's 62% off that peak right now, it does seem plausible for it to reach $100,000 within the next 5 years. By looking at the quantitative and qualitative factors, investors would tend to agree with this forecast. Bitcoin's price is roughly $26,000 at the time of recording this video, and the market cap is just over $500 billion. If everything works out fine and it hits $100,000, it would translate to a gain of 300% in the next 5 years, good for an annualized increase of 32%. That return would effectively crush the rise of the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq Composite, but it would match Bitcoin's trailing 5-year return. In 5 years, Bitcoin's market cap would total $2 trillion. This is a lot, but let's consider the fact that the total value of all gold on Earth is about $12.5 trillion. Plus, as Bitcoin becomes more legitimized and widely accepted as a store of value, it should steadily creep up on the total market cap of the popular precious metal. At roughly a $2 trillion market cap, Bitcoin would still be less valuable than Apple, which is currently worth $2.7 trillion, and Microsoft with a value of $2.5 trillion. So while a $100,000 price target might seem like a lofty expectation at first glance, it still leaves Bitcoin trailing some of the most successful businesses of all time from a completely reasonable perspective. Those speculations make sense, and they're not a stretch of the imagination to believe. But the ultimate question remains, why more individuals, institutions, or governments would even want to own Bitcoin in greater quantities in the years ahead? This is where we remember that Bitcoin is not a measly cryptocurrency just in the space. According to bitinfocharts.com, Bitcoin can process less than 6 transactions per second. This pales in comparison to Visa, the card payments giant, which can theoretically handle 65,000 TPS. Bitcoin hasn't shown much promise as a medium of exchange in day-to-day payments. In developed countries, the existing payment infrastructure does work pretty well. But Bitcoin's key thesis focuses more on parties using it to store their wealth. From a basic supply and demand perspective, owning an asset for which there will only ever be 21 million coins seems like a smart decision. Fortunately, as demand rises combined with a fixed supply cap, the price is set to continue climbing higher over time, even though it could be a bumpy ride. Besides the promise of huge financial returns, there are so many possibilities Bitcoin can bring. It can be a worthy store of value when compared to fiat currency, government-backed money that has been devalued over the past century courtesy of enormous amounts of money creation. This has resulted in the US securing a whopping $33 trillion debt outstanding, a figure that has expanded and continues to expand over time. Going forward, more market participants, whether individual or institutional investors, corporations, or even governments, will start to look at Bitcoin as a hedge against something breaking within the traditional financial and monetary system. As a result, it's not crazy to believe that the price should approach the $100,000 mark. While many investors can have a good laugh about this prediction, the stakes seem to be higher than what we think. For example, Blockstream CEO Adam Back, one of the crypto's early pioneers, is pretty confident Bitcoin will hit an all-time high of over $100,000 before the Bitcoin halving in 2024. The shocking truth is that he is willing to drop $1 million wagering on it. In August 7th conversation on X, Back agreed to a bet with pseudonymous X user at Viking Bitcoin that Bitcoin will reach $100,000 by March 31st of 2024. But Kingo said that they believe it won't happen until 2025. The wager date comes in roughly a month before the halving, which is currently on track for April 26. The Bitcoin proponent, Adam Back, believes that the price will probably reach a new all-time high sooner than the actual date of the halving. Bets on dramatic increases in the price of Bitcoin have attracted huge sums in the past. Do you remember Balaji Srinivasan? He placed a $1 million 90-day Bitcoin bet in March. Back has also been bullish about Bitcoin in the past, saying in February that Bitcoin could reach $10 million by the 6th halving in 2032. That time, Back was setting down hard-earned funds to support his most recent claim. Unfortunately, it's a million Satoshis, not US dollars. That's only $290 in current prices. A Samson Mao also tweeted, "I think new all-time high pre-halving, not post." Moreover, according to ADA Back, should a major cryptocurrency exchange operating in the US stop servicing its clients due to regulatory pressures, the crypto industry will eventually find a way around. He claimed that the system is anti-fragile, and perhaps we should not be expecting any turbulence soon. As a matter of fact, he said, "The system is anti-fragile. Something is a problem, they'll do something else or create an economic incentive for somebody. Some other company that has had a different strategy will get a large amount of users. It's a market and there's a demand. Once an exchange shuts down or stops servicing one market, people will just move to another exchange or move to an international exchange," he said. Back also likened the crypto market to water, noting that it just flows around. There are workarounds and the market is very efficient because there is this huge appetite to do things. These statements were made when the US Securities and Exchange Commission waged war against Binance and Coinbase. For now, we can only hope for the best. This prediction might prove to be accurate after all. But that's going to do it for today's video. Make sure you click on the subscribe notification buttons and we'll see you in the next video.